All right, welcome back to Linny, Kenney Leather. I'm Wyatt. Today, long-term review of this 2024 Gibson Les Paul Standard 50s Gold Top. I've had this guitar since the spring. I've put a lot of hours on it, honestly, both, goofing around and noodling and practicing and playing at home, as well as I play out most Mondays in sort of more of a full band context. So I'm pretty familiar with this instrument now, I'd say, and today's the day after Thanksgiving, so it's well over 6 months of playing this guitar, I'd say, very regularly. So what are a few of the main things, long-term ownership of a Les Paul Standard like this, things you might want to know if you're getting into it? Essentially, nothing has changed. 6 months of ownership of a guitar like this shouldn't develop any new issues. Maybe there are issues from the factory. If you watch our previous videos, you'll see that this one was replaced a few times before I got this exact guitar. But this one itself, I've had no problems with. Nothing has moved, nothing has shifted. The neck is still straight and wonderful. The frets have not sprouted at the ends or developed any problems. Electronics have had no issues. The hardware, generally, zero issues, or should I say zero new issues. There are a few things that I'm going to change about this guitar, which is the primary reason for doing this video quickly now, because it's about to get some alterations, let's say. I won't say upgrades, downgrades, we're going to do things a little differently. But really the main thing you need to know about these Les Paul Standards is the small fret thing, right? And I'm sure everybody out there has said it and beaten this horse to death a little bit, but the small frets take some real getting used to. And I've played different gauge strings and done different things and practiced a lot, and obviously I've gotten the feel for it now, but the little frets are a thing. They're very low. They're listed as medium jumbo frets, but all of these guitars are plex, so some material is removed from the fret, and they're low to the fretboard, which means if you do a lot of bending, you need as light a touch as possible while still being forceful enough, obviously, to execute the bend. Because what happens is if you smush your fingers down, you get this effect, right? I'm sure you can hear this. That's the sound of your fingers smushing against the wood of the fretboard. That has improved over time with use. The fretboard wood itself, initially when the guitar was brand new, was a little bit coarse. And I'm not going to say that that was a defect. I'm just going to say that it has definitely gotten smoother with time and use. I've also... jury's out on the whole oiling the fretboard thing. This guitar lives in New Hampshire. I've got a wood stove in the other room. I did oil this fretboard once, and also really just playing it in and doing those bends and just getting some time on the guitar has improved the feel of it. I haven't sanded it. I haven't used any steel wool or tried to smooth it out or anything like that. I still may. Just a really fine steel wool or something like that to try and really smooth out the wood. But that effect has gotten better with time, but it's still there. You're still, especially in places that I don't do a lot of bends, like down here, it's still a little bit sticky and glitchy trying to do a bend if you push hard. So because of the little frets and the bending thing, I ran 9s on this for a while when I first got it because of that problem. I'm back to 10s now, and I don't have any problem, doing some pretty big bends and having it still feel very smooth. Part of that is because the tailpiece is top wrapped as well, but we can get into that. I've gone back and forth with the tailpiece, and I'm going back and forth with the string gauges. I do have a set of 9.5 NYXL strings that I'm going to try next, not top wrapped. So that's the next sort of evolution with that, but just be aware they're little low frets, and if that's a deal breaker for you where your fingers are touching the wood, it does go away with time, and I think you could resolve that problem with some sanding, with some fine steel wool. I don't like oiling the hell out of fretboards, and there's different oils that you certainly wouldn't want to use, and that's a whole thing. A light little bit of the proper kind of oil on a fretboard, though, is good. And that issue, I feel like, is for the most part resolved for me, just now that I have the muscle memory. If it ever does get a refret, at some point I will go to the taller sort of, the more vintage narrow but tall frets, 6105 or 6150s, I forget what they are, but I like them. I use them on all my Fender style guitars. I would put on this, and I think I would be happier with that. But as it is now, the frets are great, the fret nibs are all great. I've got no problems with the fretboard. It is what it is, and it's part of the character of the instrument, and it is also part of the sound of the instrument. Adding bigger frets will change the sound of it, and I really like the sound of this guitar. So I'm very hesitant to do anything, as well as they're still in very good shape, so doesn't need a refret, not going to do a refret, just going to live with it and get more seat time. Now, that brings us to, any other issues, any other hiccups? No, there's no other problems. I've played with the pickup height. I've played with some of the kind of easily reversible setup things. It's in a happy place. These guitars, the Les Paul Standards, I can speak for the 50s, and I would bet that I can speak for the 60s. There's an odd thing about these. It's an odd configuration because the Les Paul Standard has the burst buckers, the 1 and 2, they're unpotted pickups, sort of a PAF style unpotted pickup, but the guitar has modern wiring, which isn't something that was super common over the years. I think with Gibson, you would usually have wax potted pickups with the modern wiring, or a historic reissue or something like that is going to be a little different. Whatever. That's what these are, just so you know. The Les Paul Standard 50s does not have 50s wiring. And the Les Paul Standard 60s I don't think does either, and it doesn't have the 60s wiring. I think it's all modern wiring. Which, if you don't know, I'm actually planning on doing a quick video next, because I'm going to switch this over to the 50s wiring. There are pros and cons to doing that. I've done it before. I know what to expect. And the other thing is, it's not a project. Like, you're really just switching the location of the capacitor on the neck circuit and on the bridge circuit. I'm not going to do it like against a stopwatch, but it'll take less than 10 minutes. And it's a completely reversible thing. So there's really nothing to it. If you have a soldering iron and a little bit of time to switch this from the modern wiring to the 50s wiring, if you like it, great. If you don't, you can always go back to the modern wiring, completely normal, just like it is now. And it's very, very quick and easy to do. One other thing a lot of people do is they may like the 50s wiring on the neck pickup, but leave the bridge pickup with the modern wiring, or vice versa. Depends on you, depends on the music you're playing, depends on the sound of your guitar and your pickups and everything else, and your strings and your amps and whatever else you've got going on. So you don't need to have the whole guitar 50s wired. You can 50s wire the neck pickup and leave the bridge modern, vice versa, whatever you want. So there's kind of 4 ways that you can set it up. All modern, all vintage, or half and half either way when you think of it. So I'm going to play with that because it's quick and easy and totally reversible. The neck pickup on this, to me, I love. It's a really good neck pickup, and I really like the sound of it. The bridge pickup, I'm not super in love with. I like it a lot for overdriven, Marshall-y stuff, rhythm, crunchy things. Great. Bridge pickup's awesome if you're trying to be Jimmy Page or do an AC/DC thing or whatever you're doing there. It's good. Clean, it's not my favorite, and I don't play super clean, super all the time, but I would like to experiment with it. I've played with, again, the pickup height and different strings and stuff, and it needs more clarity. And yeah, it's just not quite there on the bridge pickup. So 50s wire the bridge pickup. I'm not opposed to uncovering the pickup. I think these are all black underneath the burst buckers. I'm not really sure, and I don't really care. If it sounds the way that I want it to, I'll be happy with that. I don't think it needs a pickup swap. Again, these are very high quality, unpotted PAF style pickups. They've got, again, it's an interesting amalgamation of things because you've got the wire braided grounded wire from the pickups, which is great. The switch has the 4 thing, and it's not so much vintage spec, and of course it has the big metal grounding base plate in here, which again is not vintage spec, but I like it. It makes it easy to, you know, obviously the people making them at the factory could assemble the plates and then put the whole thing in the guitar, so they're not soldering in the cavity here, burning, you know, soldering iron marks on everything, as well as it makes for a really good ground amongst everything. It also makes it a little beefier, you know, if you're, you know, if one of these knobs takes a hit or something like that, there's maybe a slightly smaller chance that the wood's going to crack because it's attached to that plate. Maybe not, the wood would probably crack anyway, but either way, I don't hate this setup. A lot of people would rip this all out and go vintage, but I'm going to do one thing at a time and see where I get with it. That is another thing that's worth bringing up whenever you're changing things on a guitar or anything else in the world. It's really good if you have the time and you want to know what a change actually does. Make one change at a time and document your findings basically, and spend enough time with that one change to uncover all the little details of what you've done. I come from a race car background. It's probably no secret, but I'm a past US two-wheel drive rally champion. I've done a lot of race car stuff, mostly off-road over the years. And if you've got a race car, a truck, or a dirt bike or anything, make one little change, go out and test, come back. What did you see? Log that down. Okay, make one little change, go out and test. That's how it works. Because if you make 3 or 4 changes here, you're going to get lost. And some things are dependent on other things. And if you change, you know, the volume pot, but you change also the capacitor, and you change the string gauge, and you change the pickup height, if you're happy or unhappy, you're not going to know why. And some of those things are dependent on the other things to have either a bigger or a smaller or a different alteration to the overall situation here. So again, because I do have the time, I'm probably going to have this guitar forever. I really like it. I don't play any of my other guitars anymore. I don't really play my Fender guitars anymore. This is the one that I always gravitate to and I always pick up and go goof around with. So there we are. We're going to go 50s wiring and we're going to do some different things. And if you're into that, or if you have questions about how the capacitor really works and how the tone controls really work, and what's going on here with the, you know, potentiometers are just resistors, adjustable resistors, there's the switch, there's all the other stuff here. If you're curious about how this wiring actually works, it would be very easy to make a quick video and cover that, because nobody ever really explained it to me, but it's super simple antique electronics basically, and really easy to dive into. So as far as a real, you know, 6-month review, that's it. It's got little frets and you'll get used to it, and I like it and I like the sound of it, so I'm going to leave them. And the bridge pickup I don't love. I like it, but it's okay, but I think it can be improved. The neck pickup is great. I'm very happy with the neck pickup. I probably won't change anything, but the bridge pickup we're going to goof around with and see where we get from here. I changed the knobs. These are the 60s style knobs just because personally I think they look better. I've had the pick guard on and off. I've got it on. I like it better on, I think. Looks more old school. And that's all I've got for you. Just a really good Gibson USA, not custom shop, really good solid guitar, and I'm super happy with it, and I'm going to be playing with it a lot. So if you have any questions, or there's anything that you'd like to see tried on a guitar like this, I'm not very precious with especially the electronics, because again, it's all pretty cheap and reversible. Or any questions on any other stuff, definitely let me know. So yeah, that's all I got for you. It's a great guitar. Plays in tune, stays in tune, sounds awesome, feels awesome. It does all the things you want a Les Paul to do. If you would, check out Linny Kenney Leather, linnykenney.com. Links in the description. Super nice Italian leather, all natural guitar straps. It's the nicest leather that you're going to find a guitar strap made out of. We get this stuff shipped straight in from a small tannery in Tuscany that does it all, you know, the old school way. It's really nice stuff, and it's all handmade right here in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. So small business, check it out. It's really good. Other than that, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want. Throw a comment in the comment section. We'll be checking it out, and hopefully we'll see you next time.